Looks like it's ready to go.
Yes, you are ready to start.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. First thing on our agenda is the public hearing for the CDBG grant. We got to discuss anything, otherwise I'll open the public hearing on that.
Yeah, this is Edwin from Kirksey.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that this is a public hearing to get any public comments or questions about the state's or the county's applications for COVID-19 funding. The grant amount is $75,000 with no local match required. The grant's been submitted, approved. The county should have gotten the grant agreement to review and sign. I think they sent it out on May 7th. We've looked that over, it's fine. If you haven't signed it yet, you can go ahead and sign that. Put that in. Once you submit that, the state said it's going to take about 2 weeks to get all the state signatures on that. So we're just waiting for that process to go through right now.
That was signed and submitted on May 7th.
Okay, good. So basically right now we're waiting for the state to sign that. Once that's signed, we're going to go through the release of funds process, which should be pretty simple for this grant. And then we'll be able to submit a claim once we get release of funds. So I guess we need to ask if there's any public comments or questions on the grant.
I haven't received any public comments or questions or anything on that.
Charlie, for the record, I think Edward wants you to ask for any public comments or questions on the COVID-19 grant. I know obviously we are dealing with the public here through a sort of an indirect means, but I think in this case we'll ask them to make written comments, or they could phone in to one of you as well to make comments. Do the best we can on that.
Okay. So with the public hearing, I guess if there's any comments or questions, they can call or write anything concerning about this, I guess.
And we're dealing with the food delivery grant in this case, because we have several things going on, I suppose, at once, but that's the one that this is dealing with, which was under a community block development grant through Okra.
We could set up a informational email that they could email to as well. That way it'd be something that can be viewed while the meetings are going on.
Yeah, we will have to have a second public hearing sometime after we get the release of funds, because it's required that we have two. So we'll let you know when we have to have that second public hearing.
Okay. So I think if there was any concerns or anything with it from anybody, they can discuss it then at that meeting, that hearing. Well, I'll close the public hearing on this. And then, is there anything else to discuss with that right now?
Not right now. I think we're just waiting for the state to sign everything. Save all your receipts so we can submit those when time comes.
Okay, sounds good. We'll move on to the searcher discussions with the recorder's office and stuff. Mandy, you on here?
Yep, I am.
'Cause I think you had sent us an email about some of this, right? I believe I saw something.
I
Yeah.
saw it. I saw it as well, and it was very explanatory, helped a lot.
I've been working on a plan as far as for sanitizing and making sure everyone's protected. I had spoke with Frank on Friday a little bit about it. He gave me a piece of, a list of what we should be doing, and some masks and gloves and hand sanitizer and stuff like that. I think we're prepared for it. It's just up to the commissioners now to kind of make a decision.
How many are, we only got one in at a time? I mean, it's
Um,
hours, right? I mean, sometimes they come in for a couple hours at a time or?
I figured we'd set up two per day, one in the morning, give us a period of time in the middle to sanitize, and then one in the afternoon. And I think that the first week will probably be pretty busy. Those slots will be filled, but I think after that, we have a couple of them that only need to search one property. And I think once they're done, that'll be it. And then I should be back to Julie and Rachel, who are my regulars that come in a couple times a week.
The email that she sent kind of listed that out. I thought it was pretty well thought out, and where she'd have one in the morning and one in the afternoon. And as long as those parameters are written and distributed, and they're required to wear face masks and abide by the social distancing, I think I'd be okay with that. The appointments, calling in for an appointment, having a specific appointment.
I'd agree with that too.
So is that a motion, Kathy, on that?
Yes, yeah, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Next up is we're gonna talk, I guess, about stimulus money, the mobile meal service update.
So when we first received the stimulus money, I called about it, where we got it from. Like, oh, you can use it on anything. You can put it in your rainy day. You can do whatever you want with it. Well, the State Board of Accounts then contradicted that a couple of weeks later. I had to put it in a 8,900 fund, and we have to spend it out of that fund. We can't like bank it for a rainy day. And it does have to be spent related to COVID-19 in some ways. I do have from the EMS department and the health department, I have a little over $4,000 in invoices for extra supplies that they have had to purchase, whether it be gowns or face mask, just many things related to COVID-19. And I'm just wondering if we could use that for those invoices.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. I guess we can make a motion on that.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
And then the mobile meal service. So we have been in operations for 2 full weeks now. This week will be our 3rd full week of providing meals and groceries 5 days a week to residents in Stark County. Next week, I would like to go down to 2 days a week. There's a few reasons for that. The departments are back at work now, so our volunteers who have been delivering they have a normal work schedule again. And also, if we go down to 2 days a week, we can, the residents will still be able to get 2 boxes of groceries a week, 2 hot meals a week. They'll know what days we're not going to change it. It's going to be on Mondays and Thursdays. And then we would be able to maybe prolong this program a little more. And if we have a surge in the future, we can, go back to providing 5 days a week if there's a need for it.
As far, if we go to, I guess this would be a question for Edwin. If we go down to 2 days a week, would that change anything on our grant? Edwin? I don't know, maybe Edwin isn't there. I don't know. What do you think, Marty?
Edwin, you're muted, or if you're still there, could you unmute and let us know what you think? Well, my opinion is that we didn't specify that much detail, and I don't think there's any harm in it. In fact, I think it's the right decision too right now, because there was a pent up need at the beginning, and that was that I think that's been addressed to some extent, and right now it isn't really growing that fast in this community. Hopefully it'll stay that way. But it's nice to have something in reserve in case it becomes more serious, and looking at it, even best case scenario, it's likely to drag on for a while. So pacing it seems like a good decision to me.
Well, I'm okay with that. Because I mean, the money was going so fast right off. I mean, there was such an overwhelming need. I mean, I'm kind of torn between what appears to be a very overwhelming need and a desire to prolong it, because I don't think just because the state's opening up doesn't mean the virus has gone away. And I think once people get out, I think we're going to see a surge of problems. And so I'd be I'd be okay with that. If they're getting groceries twice a week, a box of groceries that, include things that folks need, I would think that'd be okay.
Mhm.
Well, another thing about it is that, the restaurants, the impact on the restaurants at this point is probably a little less as things are. So, the kind of,
right.
yeah. So, I agree with you. The thing is, the worst case scenario is that we have a surge after things start opening up, and that would be expected to happen in about 2 or 3 weeks then, I guess. So, we want to be, kind of ready for that. We don't want to be running out if it happens. I hope it won't. But,
Right, yeah.
But I don't think there's anything in our grant application that would be contrary to that, because we didn't specify like a certain number of days or anything. And in fact, I kind of regret that we didn't, that I didn't play up the part about it supporting local businesses, because they gave, support for local businesses. They gave that one 250,000. If you were feeding people, that was 75. So we could have characterized ours either way, but I didn't foresee that. So what can you say? You make a call, and sometimes in retrospect, I'd have rather done it the other way.
Yeah, well, next time we'll keep that in mind. So what do we need to, what do we need to do? I make a motion, or?
I don't know if you have to, you can make a motion to approve that. I don't think you ever said that it had to be 5 days in the first place. So it's really up to you if you want to do that. I just, having been advised of it and saying that's fine, I think is actually fine in this case. But
actually, I think that might be better. That gives some flexibility.
yeah.
So if they need to flex it up, or they need to go an extra day, they have the, they don't have to come back and have a meeting and make that motion. So, yeah, okay.
That's what I was thinking. So
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. So
I have one more question about it. So the form usually only stays open for about 13 minutes in the morning, because we shut it off after 75 requests. That's what our delivery people can handle. It's normally the same 75 or even 70 people on the route every day. With our limitations and how many that we can service, we're not really able to allow for new people to get on there, because everybody knows the routine. You have to get on at 8 a.m. and I don't know if you want to keep it like that or if you want to limit it in some way, or I just want you to know what's going on, and you can go from there with decisions.
Well, I mean, you've got a committee, don't you?
Somewhat.
I would like to see it spread out, so there's more folks able to use it.
That's the problem. That's the only problem that I see that we're running into right now is really no new people are able to get on because it's just, everyone who uses it every day, they know the routine of how they need to get on there right away at 8 a.m. But we're not, I mean, what if there's somebody else out there that needs this, but they can't get it registered in time because all the usuals are going on there.
How would you monitor that? Do you have the capacity to monitor that, or?
Yeah, so right now we only allow for two grocery boxes per week right now per household. So we monitor that. We monitor if people are trying to use 2 different names for one household, to get double the amount. We monitor that. There's a few tips and tricks that we've run into, how the forms are filled out, so we can monitor that and be able to structure that, I guess.
I mean, I guess the most obvious way would be to limit households to 1 box a week.
Right.
And then, yeah.
But I can talk to my team and see how we want to do it. I just want to let you know if, we did decide to only limit households to 1 delivery a week for the purposes of allowing other households who can't even get on the form at all. I wanted to let you know that would be going on.
At this point, I think I would be in favor of only allowing a delivery per household once a week after we go to only 2 days a week. That way we can spread it out and get to even more, because I know the phone calls that come in the office here, we have a few people that seem to be really upset because they can't seem to call right at 8 o'clock. They call at 8:30 and have been doing so for 2 weeks and can't get in, and they're upset. So knowing that if we can have a way of, stretching it to meet more people, I think I would be in favor of that.
I think that would be a good idea. And I got something I want to say. I'm not going to mention any names, but I've been to some places that they're probably some of the richest people in Stark County. So I don't know. I'm not saying any more about that, but it just makes you wonder why they would do that and not give it to somebody that needs it.
Well,
No names.
yeah. That's, well, they're high risk, I'm sure.
Yeah, they are.
I don't know what to say, but I hear you, Brian.
I know, but they've also got family that can take care of them. Never mind. I shouldn't even brought that up, I guess.
You're not
I hear
wrong.
you.
Just
There's always going to be somebody that's going to take advantage of the program, no matter what we put in place. I guess my biggest question would be, what does a food box consist of? And then as far as limiting to once a week, I wouldn't have any issue with that. And us going down to 2 days a week, all we're going to end up doing is the same regular people that know to call right at 8 a.m. They're still going to continue to do that. And they're still going to be the ones continuing to get their food boxes. So we're really not going to do anything for new people unless we implement something.
Correct.
Yeah, what is in those food boxes, Rachel?
Ones that I've been delivering usually have, like if you get the beef, there's usually two different packages of hamburger, which is about real close to 2 pounds per package. There's like a little box of macaroni in there that you can boil mixed up. There's pasta. Sometimes there's chili beans,
Bread,
eggs, bread,
spaghetti sauce.
and some cheese. And yeah, did I say spaghetti sauce? That's in there too.
Peanut
And then the
butter.
chicken's kind of similar, except for they put 2 packages of the chicken in instead.
Well, I will say if you're truly needy, I'm not sure that that would sustain you for a week, truthfully. But I will also say they do often have those drive-through food banks. I think they just had one last Friday in Knox, and I know they have them a lot in Hamlet, but I don't know about North Judson or Sanpierre or any of the other areas.
In the box, we can always up the groceries that come in that box. I mean, we can always add a few more things when we go, if we go down to only servicing, once a week per household.
I would think that you might want to consider that if you're going to go to once a week.
No problem.
More dry goods, rice, that kind of thing, something that will sustain, last longer, stretch it out.
Yeah, we can do that.
Potatoes might be something a lot of people would eat. Always trying to think about, what your average person is going to be, is going to actually eat.
Rachel, is there a way of adding a question to the page saying, are you a first-time user? And if they are a first-time user, could it be sent to a page that maybe was open longer than the others or something like that? So first-time users would get a priority?
Well, we're using Google Forms, which is a free form right now. There's not a lot that, I mean, it's great. What we've been doing with is absolutely wonderful. There's not a lot that we can do with it like that. We would have to start paying for, if we wanted to get more in depth like that, we would have to start paying for a form. But we will be able to, especially only being 2 days a week. We already monitor the form as soon as it goes live at 8 o'clock. I have 2 deputies looking at it constantly every few minutes. So we'll be able to, they already know the names that come in frequently. So we'll be able to filter people out and let it open longer for those people that have already used it the one day. I mean, we'll be able to leave it open and let more people come in.
Yeah, even if they change the names, they got to give you an address for the delivery. So that would, probably work out.
A good idea, Rick.
Are you dropping down to 2 days this week or next week?
2 days next week. So this week we're still 5 days.
So you need to make sure you publicize that to the folks. So when the groceries and food is being dropped off, you need to say next week it'll only be 2 days and 1 box of groceries a week out of that 2 days or whatever.
In
On delivery a week or whatever,
Right. For even the 2 days a week, I know some departments have expressed some concern of being able to keep doing deliveries since we're back to full staff. So I just would like to have the commissioner's backing. If I tell these departments, just pick 1 day, please at least give me volunteers for 1 day, that you will back me on that.
I think that's a good idea.
Well, we're gonna have to. I mean, it's kind of a thing that's needed right now. So.
Well, and I if you need it, I can help deliver the kids, and I can help deliver groceries 1 day too, a couple of days too. they have school on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, but we can do it in the afternoon or, you know, however. And then next week they don't have school, so, and they can do their e-learning whenever. I mean, as long as they get it done by the end of the day. And, but I'd be happy to help deliver if we need to do that. I'll make them run up to the house with the groceries. I'll just drive them.
Is that something that you guys would be interested in having the media include in future publications about this, as far as like getting more volunteers to be delivery drivers?
That'd be great.
I don't know. Well, I understand. Yes, I understand, but Marty,
The only issue is going to be liability while they're
Right.
doing
That's why I
something
was
for the
asking.
county.
I mean, right
Yeah.
now,
Right.
our own employees, our own vehicles, you know, if employees get hurt, it's workman's comp. It's, I mean, everything's our own right now. So, yeah.
Well, that's why I asked before I said anything.
But I understand, Brian. Good idea. I understand.
I never thought about the liability.
Yeah, well, I mean, surely there'd be something within our existing coverage that we could get an extra rider or something to help cover that. I mean, because I bet there are people out there that would be willing to help. I mean, I realize we have one or two that don't want to do it, but there might be some out there that would be willing to help.
If we are able to, like with a religious organization or something of that nature, where they want to volunteer, they want to be able to deliver the food or anything, and we were just paying the bill to the grocery store for setting up the food boxes, and the religious organization were volunteering, doing it on their own, going out, picking it up directly from the store, and then delivering it to members of the community. If somehow we're providing a list, I just know with everything else, the minute the county has any type of list, there's going to be an issue with rostering, there's going to be an issue with liability.
Well, I think that we can call Carrie. Why don't you call Carrie, Rachel, and see what our options are in terms of our coverage. And if we did go to volunteers, what her suggestions would be to make sure that our liability was covered. You know, it might be cost prohibitive. Maybe it's included somehow with the current policies we got. I don't know. But I think the first step is to check with Carrie, and because that would be the biggest issue, is the liability. Check with Carrie and see what she says about our coverage.
Okay.
And then
Or
we
any
can-
of our high-risk people that are still off work. We can make this as low contact, no contact as we can, for them to be able to, they're still employed, they're still on the county
Yeah.
insurance.
Yep. Yes. Yeah, that's an option as well, because we aren't bringing them back until after Memorial Day. So that's a good point, Frank.
Yeah.
So I would think that certainly you could require them to come, as you know, because they don't. I read those things that says that you got to be home. They drop them off at the door, and they don't have any contact. So so I would think that that would be a pool of prospects for you going forward, at least till Memorial Day. That'll give you sufficient time to check with Carrie about our liability insurance, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
Is that all on that?
Yep.
Okay. Does anyone have anything else like to discuss?
Well, I hesitate to bring this up in a public meeting, but I'm going to anyway. We did get $41,000 or $43,000 from the federal government for the virus. And more and more I'm saying, in fact, I saw a news report about it this morning. We have had essential workers that, regardless of whatever emergency we might have in the county, as they're deemed essential. That's like our EMS, the sheriff's department, some of the highway department. And even if we send our employees home, like in a snow emergency, the other people have to work. So I'm wondering about trying to use some of that $43,000 for those ones that have had to work during this crisis when everybody else stayed home and got paid their regular pay, to give them a little bit of a premium.
Mm. Well, what I could do is I could get a count from each department, at least start with how many employees we'd be paying out to.
That'd be the first step. You know, who actually worked. You know, if they didn't work, then they wouldn't be eligible. But if they've worked, then, you know, we need to take a look at that and see if there's any way we can give them a little bit of that money.
Yeah, so not really many other counties have, it's called hazard pay. I mean, it is something.
Right.
You have to do a ordinance or a resolution and say, you know, approve giving out hazard pay, but you can do that.
Well, I mean, you know, I suppose that'd be up to the commissioners. I mean, that's only a thought that I've put down. So what do you guys think about it, Charlie and Brian?
I think it'd be fine. So that would be like if they actually worked from home too then, right?
No, I wouldn't think it'd be if they work from home. I'd say if they got out and they actually exposed themselves. That's what I would think.
Mainly, well, yeah. Could it mainly be like the highway and the police department, or would it be in the office buildings too, or?
EMS.
Yeah,
EMS.
EMS.
Because I don't know if I'd be concerned with, like, you know, some of those might be high risk. That's the thing, you know, I don't. If they can't do much, get out and about, that's the thing, I don't.
As a
Well, high risk
employee
ones, Go
and a
ahead,
member
Frank.
of the public and somebody who's exposed himself, I would say hold on to that thought for a while, because we don't know what's going to come up here with COVID-19 in the future. And it's only $43,000. So that 43,000 may go a long way in regards to getting food to people who need it or anything of that, as opposed to trying to get the employees that have been working an extra $300 or something, whatever the math comes out to by the time it's all said and done.
Well, you know what, Frank, your opinion on that is very valuable. And so I appreciate you chiming in because out of all of them, except maybe for the EMS department, you're the one that's exposing yourself the most. So that carries a lot of weight with me.
Yeah, I agree with what Frank said there. Maybe hold on for a while.
Yeah. Because I mean, we ain't got a time frame that has to be spent or nothing. I mean, we can hold on to that, right?
Right. Yes, that's true.
I mean, if we could probably make a decision down the road a month or two, see from there, I'd say. So,
Frank, is there?
If this flares up in 2 months, you still got the money. If it doesn't
Yeah.
flare up in 2 months, you still got the money.
you know,
Frank, while we're on that subject, is there anything that you know, as a person who's actually out there doing it, that you see that needs to be, you know, that maybe is a more pressing thing, that like personal protective equipment, that kind of thing? That you need?
Right now I have access and I'm able to order. So
Okay.
as far as what little bit I've got, I tried to hurry up and get that for the county employees coming back. That way we had at least a stock, a supply, something. But as far as any other need, I know there are a couple of the doctor's offices are talking about they're having trouble getting it, but I want to get them other information so as that they can still seek out their own before I worry about handing them stuff. As far as
Right,
anything
right.
else going on in the community, the food thing is like a big thing, but like what Brian was saying, there's some on there that are taking advantage, and it's keeping it from people that really do have a need that probably don't even know it's available, in all honesty.
Yeah. So you're Frank, you feel like, it seems like if I could summarize it, you think the best thing right now is to hold that money in reserve.
Absolutely. Like I said, it's not going anywhere. We don't have a time frame.
Right.
we can wait. If we want to sit down in October and decide who worked and who didn't and dole it out then, it can be done then.
I like that idea.
Yeah, I do too. And I especially like it that it's coming from one of our employees that's right on the front line. That really carries a lot of weight for me.
Yeah.
I'm not out there licking surfaces or anything like that, so I don't want to come across like I'm the big hero or anything here. I'm just saying, I've had contact with people out there and everything as well, but just hold it.
Yeah. Yeah. Nope. Sounds like a good plan. So, is there anything else to discuss?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay.
Hey, mentioned to you guys that the Secretary of State was going to send us a whole bunch of supplies for our election. We got confirmation that the National Guard will be delivering it on Wednesday. So we will have hand sanitizer, surface cleaner, mask, gloves, everything that we need for the election. The Secretary of State did deliver, and it will be here on Wednesday.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
There's one thing I'd like to mention. I think probably most of you knew anyway, but we did the public hearing for Okra on the proposal for the expenditure of the $333,000 we got as stellar finalists last year on Thursday, late Thursday afternoon, and then we used a little bit of a cutting edge web function and had a little trouble with it at first, but then once it kicked in, it worked real well. We got a lot of positive responses. I understand we're up to 900 views on that, which wasn't the most entertaining video in history, so I feel pretty good about 900 views on that. It's been supportive, I think, and I think we're well on our way to actually seeing those funds come in, maybe later in the year, but it looks like there's a lot of support for doing a series of programs at the parks around the county, one in Knox, one in North Judson, one at Bass Lake, and one at Coons Lake. And there's kind of amenities like restrooms, parking areas, and that kind of things to make the current amenities that we have more useful.
I got a question, Marty. I don't mean to sound too dumb here, but I was reading on there. What's a trailhead out at Bass Lake? What is that?
There's, and I don't know the numbers of the roads right offhand, but you know, at the southwest corner of the lake, there's this little intersection. It's pretty near the public access point. There's a little intersection. Rick, you probably know the numbers.
450 East and County Road 210.
Okay, and there's a little piece of land there that's never really had any particular use that the county had control over. And Rick, why don't you explain what that trailhead consists of?
Well, the idea would be 2 bathrooms and a small office. And it would be kind of a jumping off point for people to go to the Erie Trail, to bike around the lake. There's bike racks there. There's a potential for rentals to be there. There's a better parking lot, right? People use that now as an overflow parking for the launch. And if we upgrade that parking lot, there'll be more organized parking for that. And the bathrooms can also be used by the people at the launch. So it's basically a jumping off point for recreational activities in that whole part of the county.
Who'd be, out of curiosity, who'd be manning that?
Well, when we put together the application last year, I spoke to you guys a little bit about it, using one of our part-time workers to do that and to go every day and do that. We wouldn't be adding a part-time worker, just be reassigning one of our part-time workers to do that on a daily basis.
You know, I gotta ask Rick, where's the money coming from? Because it can't come from highway.
I don't know. We could use one of our other accounts that's not MVH. It could come from the CDIT.
Yeah, it could come from seated if commissioners agree to it.
Right. Well, we spoke about this when we did the application last year, and we said it would have to be approved out of that. And I think that was, I had to go back in the minutes, but I think that was discussed then.
I don't, well, I mean, I don't exactly remember that and everything, but it probably would have to come out of the seeded. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I think, you know, nobody foresaw this COVID thing either. So one of the things that everybody needs to keep in mind is the reduction in the seeded funds that's going to be coming. So,
Yeah.
and we'd have to make sure, well, of course, I'm not going to be here anymore. So it'd be up to you guys to make sure that essential services are funded first. Before.
And also that would be county right of way, and we can use MVH funds for maintaining county right of way. We have done it before. It just doesn't go into the 1173, it would stay in 1176. As long as the commissioners would vote to say that's okay, MVH funds could be used for that.
Okay.
But I was wondering what, is there a particular reason why we'd have to have an office that was manned by somebody during the day?
No, the office wouldn't be manned by someone during the day, but it'd be available for maybe a trail club. It doesn't have to be an office in there. It could just be a bathroom too. That was not hard and fast, but that was to be someplace possibly to do bike rentals or something like that. Or
You might have a lot of folks interested in renting bikes right around the lake.
Yes.
Or little kayaks or something like that. Isn't that's pretty close to the public launch, right?
Yes, very close.
Yeah.
'Cause that might be something that could be like self-funding even or something right there.
They could maybe have a business there, and then they could take care of the building while they rented the bicycles or something.
That'd be similar to what we have at the beach, where somebody would have to pretty much lease that out to do this, what it sounds like.
I think that's something that the park board could take a look at, should they decide to do that. And
there's a woman
I always felt like if you could get a business, or, you know, if you could run a business, if you come up with a business model and a business plan, you could determine whether or not it would reasonably be expected to self-fund. And if it could self-fund, you know, because it would obviously only be open in the summer, probably. I mean, I don't think we'd have bathrooms in there in the winter time, would we?
No.
We'd have to shut that off because really most of the action happens May to September. We might be able to, it might self-fund itself, but I would think it'd be under the jurisdiction of the park board. Would it not, Marty, or what do you think?
Well, that's a good question. And it's one we hadn't really gotten to yet. You know, the thing about it is the reason that one came up was we had larger plans for Bass Lake, and, you know, we didn't have the big funds that we needed to do the big ones. And so the idea was to kind of start whittling away at the situation at Bass Lake to bring it up to date as more of a modern attraction. And so far our park board hasn't really taken on, you know, a lot of day-to-day functioning. I mean, frankly, you know, it's been mostly they meet and then they talk about issues, but they don't actually get involved in active management. But other than what's happened at the, of course, you know, with Bruce Wakeland's done at the forest, where it has been that way. So I think that's I guess what I'm trying to say in a long-winded way is that that's something we need to move towards more, I think, is have the park board. And there's no reason the park board and the highway department can't cooperate, right, Rick? I mean, that's normal, right?
That is normal. That happens in many departments.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for, really. I mean, it would be nice if there was someone running a business there that could at least largely subsidize, and also just to have somebody there to make sure there wasn't any craziness going on.
There's a woman who rents bicycles and kayaks right outside Fingerhut every year. She doesn't have a building. She just ropes it off. And I'm sure she would love to have a building like that to do. And maybe that's somebody we could talk to when she starts doing that.
Well, the proximity to the public access site would be really nice.
It's actually what she's using now.
It's only, sorry.
I'm not opposed to the park board and the highway department working together, but with the state board of accounts' with their rules, the highway department, nothing can be funded out of there, including their work, if it's not on the roadway or right of way.
Well, there are some departments that do park work, and I do know it's paid out of MVH. It can be done.
I have an email from the State Board of Accounts from earlier last year that you have to be paid. The highway department has to be reimbursed if it's off of the roadway or right of way.
It's on the right of way, I think, but it's not on the roadway. It's all right of way, I think. Is it not?
It's county road right of way, yes. The
Yeah.
entire triangle.
I'm just
Because
saying,
the road technically goes all the way around it, and the right of way goes all the way into the middle. So it is.
be careful what you have them do, because they may have to be paid for it.
So does that mean that every time we do work on an easement, we have to get reimbursed for it? Like at the lakes?
Highway should not be working on easements. Roadway, right of way, roadway, right of way. That is your MVH.
I guess I need to look at that, because right of way and roadway are not synonymous by any means legally. Right of way, it is right of way. There's lots of right of way. It isn't roadway.
It's roadway right of way. So the highway department, it takes care of roadway right of way.
Right. Well, I guess once again, I'd have to see what the definition means, because those are two different terms, and they're often somewhat conflated. And I don't know whether they mean the terms in their legal sense, because right of way is, there's lots of right of way that isn't roadway, and there's no legal requirement that a right of way actually be for cars. It could just be for walking. That's still a right of way legally. And I know it's kind of forgotten, but right of ways that were for, like, horses and people walking, predate car right of ways by centuries. So I would really have to look at that. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong, Rachel. You're probably right. You usually are, but I'm not sure that a walking easement wouldn't be within the jurisdiction of, but of course their answer may be that, if you're using fuel, the fuel's not, people walking are not incurring fuel. I don't know. Anyway, I'd need to look at it.
Okay.
So is there anything else that we need to discuss?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So when will I be able to start making appointments? Can I make them today for later in the week?
What did our, Marty, I don't have it right in front of me, I don't think, but what did our policy or ordinance that say? I can't remember. The one you wrote for us? That
What's the
based on
question? What's the question again? I'm sorry.
She wants to know when she can start making appointments for those guys to come into her office. And I cannot recall, we had a reopening policy that you passed around and we agreed to, which we probably should approve, but I can't remember exactly what date it said we do that.
It is my recollection, I believe that policy takes effect today, and that that yes, she could start making appointments, and of course, you specifically one thing on that one, I think when you make appointments with them, I guess I'd suggest that you include in there that they're expected to bring their own masks and to wear them.
Okay, yeah, I have a whole policy drawn up for our office. I wasn't sure on the mask, so I hadn't added that yet, but I will send that around as well. But yeah, I will give the security guard a list every morning of the 2 people. That way, that's the only 2 people that are let in, and they'll have their instructions as well as for the searchers.
Mandy, did you see the policy that that covers it? It's in there. I mean, we should be consistent with the policy that
Correct.
that already went, and it is, that was one of the things that was really dealt with in there, I think, and it's consistent with what was said today, I believe.
Okay, so, but they had stated the 26th, I think was.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Well, hang on one second. I've got it on my computer right here. I'll open it up real quick and see what it says. No, it says May 11th. County offices remain closed to the public except by appointment and after a showing of compelling need and with the use of appropriate masks.
Okay.
So that's today. And May 26th, we are going to, it looks like we're going to be opening to the public on May 26th. But again, the public will have to have appropriate masks. So I would say that we need to vote to approve this as written. And then distribute it to the employees. So I'd make a motion that we approve the policy as written.
I second that.
All those in favor? Aye.
One thing I do have a comment on this though, is like Andy, if they're going to your office, we don't want them venturing out and getting to the office and treasures all over the place too without their permission. That's the office they go to, they're not able to go anywhere.
That's a good point.
Most of them will have to use my office and the auditor's office because the auditor has the transfer dates, and then I have the information in our deed books. Anything before 95, we have to have a transfer date for, because otherwise we can't find it in the book.
Is there any way?
We can, but we'd have to go through every single book.
Okay, is there any way, anybody from your office that when you go from office to office, you gotta wear a mask, can go over to say the auditor's office instead of that person and get the information they need, then go back and give it to them?
I don't see why not.
'Cause that would
We
be
could
more-
even probably do it just over the phone. We could have them call Rachel's office
they
if
just-
that's okay with Rachel.
The annex, that's
Less contact.
Yeah, so you would also probably need to make sure that you coordinate those people that are coming in with the auditor's department if they've got to use the auditor's department as well.
Right. And I did speak to Rachel. I don't know if she's still there about that
Yeah.
because our offices kind of work together on that department.
I do like the idea of trying to call us over the phone and get the dates though, if possible.
Yeah, that's fine with me. For the most part, that should work. We have that one Casey Flynn that needs a 100-year search. So I don't know how difficult that one is going to be.
Well, then I guess from Rachel's perspective, if you would instruct those people before you give them access to the building that they need to call and get their dates from the auditor's office before they come, or they can use your phone or their cell phone or something to call the auditor's office from your office or something. Yeah. But it sounds like the preference is to restrict them to your office and your office only.
And Rachel, Suzanne and I had talked about having access to DocuWare, and if that was the case, they could look up stuff like Melissa knows, she could look up stuff just from our office then.
I have no problem with that DocuWare as long as it's just a viewer and they can't change anything, and I'll get on IT on that.
Okay. All right. But I will instruct them to, we'll just, pardon?
So we did the policy, right? I think I made a motion. I think Brian seconded it. Did you second that, Brian?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And then I think Rachel should distribute that policy to the employees or the department head, so they're aware of what the policy is and what the requirement is and what the plan is. Of course, that does not include the sheriff's department or the court.
Right.
I think the policy says that actually.
Right, it does. one thing I'd like to mention, I don't know if this is just kind of something food for thought. One thing, some of the reading I've done suggests, and Frank, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it suggests that transmission outdoors is actually relatively uncommon. I don't know whether there's, a place for the county having a place for, for discussions that might be between officials and the public that would be outdoors. We're coming into summer where that wouldn't be necessarily unrealistic to do. So it seems like the vast majority of bad transmission events have been in smaller offices and smaller spaces where there's more transmission. So I don't know, it's just something to think about in case there's a flare up, whether we could accommodate that. I don't know.
Open areas, it's just a matter of you're able to maintain the space better. But as far as inside a confined area or anything like that, where you have multiple people, you're just able to have a little more space when you can do anything outside. As far as the transmission or wind speed or any of that kind of stuff, I haven't even bothered looking into it. Just stay 6 foot apart from people.
Is there anything else we need to talk about? If there isn't anything else, we can make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Hey, Marty, can you give me a call, please?
Sure,
Thank
we'll
you.
do it right away.